And of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
What is going on? Welcome to Skol Gang 365. I'm your host, Darren Ryan. Well, Vikings preseason is wrapped up. Vikings get the dub. 26 points to finish it out. Excellent showing from Jaron Hall. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens for the first game of the season. I think the Vikings come out with their first game of the regular season, and I think they absolutely ball out that game. Me personally, I think after the first game, it's going to get a little tough, and I think it's going to get tough with just the quarterback play, because you got Sam Darnold. But if Sam gets the right protection and he's able to get those looks and he's able to get those reads, he might do okay, but I don't know. I think it's going to be tough season. Next year we're going to have the money to move around. So this year might be an off year for the Vikings, but I think next season, I think the Vikings can make a push to get back up into conversation for top team in the North, so to speak. May not be this year, but next year, I think sky's the limit. Jaron Hall, excellent preseason showing. Last game, balled out. This game, balled out. My only thing is, will he eventually take QB2 from Nick Mullins, or is he gonna stick back in practice squad in the helms, so to speak? Be really interesting. The link's posted, so if anybody wants to jump on, they can jump on. But I think after these two showings, I think Jaron Hall's, kind of made a impact for himself, so to speak. You know, he knows the playbook. Um, yeah, he's facing, twos and threes, but I from what I've been seeing these last two games, the kid's got potential. So I mean, put him around a right group of guys on this team, I think he can do great. Only only issue that I have with Mullins is turns the ball over. If he doesn't turn the ball over and he's throwing for 400, he can do well if he's not turning the ball over. It's just when he's in there in those situations, he's not comfortable enough and he's turning the ball over. That's my only issue with Mullins. Like he can sling the ball, but turns the ball over a lot. Um, Tristan Jackson, another guy who had an excellent preseason. I see him as the wide receiver 4. Um, Obviously, right now with the whole situation with Jordan Addison, he may be ready week 1, maybe not. So you got Jalen Naylor, who I'd have at 2, and you bump Jackson up to 3. Obviously, Justin Jefferson, the starter. Um, they can still ball out week 1 if Addison's not starting. There's some guys that can really show out, and I think Naylor and Jackson can really show out. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with our guard situation. Left guard, right guard. We just need some real production from both of those areas. They just need to help. They just need to help Darnold. I'm not worried about tackle unless God forbid Darisaw or O'Neal go down. But my main concern with that offensive line is the guard spot. Right guard, left guard. And I just need Bradbury to have a good year. Needs to stay healthy. I know he's had some lingering back issues, but if they can play well, and they can play well with um Darisaw and O'Neal, I think we'll be fine. It's just a matter of if they can actually perform well as a unit and give Darnold a good season, a decent season. Because right now I believe this is Darnold's last real opportunity to make a name for himself in the league. I mean, if he can have a decent year, he can be offered a contract elsewhere. I don't know if it'll be here, but he could get offered a contract to Vegas because, I feel like Vegas is just a quarterback away. So I'm more excited to see JJ McCarthy when he gets back. I'm not too sold on Mullins. Not really sold on Darnold, but I'll give him a chance. He just needs to show me that he can be decent this year. If he can be decent, that's all I need him to do. Just be decent. He just needs to show that he's comfortable in the pocket. I need him to try not turning the ball over as much. Yeah, I've been seeing some rumors about the Vikings trading for Russell Wilson. Viking fans, what's your thoughts on possibility of Russell Wilson joining the Vikings? You guys think that Russ would do well with the roster that we have right now? Or do you think he struggles like he did in Denver? Me personally, I think it's a step above Darnold. I think he's a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. You also got to look at he signed for very cheap to play with the Steelers, and that's mainly because the Broncos are eating up that massive contract that they gave him, and he's basically playing on free money because he's already getting paid, and he's pretty much playing right now in Pittsburgh for pocket change. If we were to trade for him, it it wouldn't really affect us financially. So like I said, he's already set and he's already getting paid by the Broncos. Um I'd say the same thing with Darnold. Just need the offensive line, uh mainly that interior, to really step up and play as a unit with the tackles, and really need the center Garrett Bradbury to really play well too. As long as the whole offensive line can play as a cohesive unit, I think any quarterback could play well with this team. It's just the offensive line needs to play well as a cohesive unit. Um, I wouldn't be mad at the move if they did go out and get Russell Wilson. Um, I wouldn't mind seeing Sierra at Vikings games. I'd rather see her on TV than Taylor Swift. That's just my opinion. Um, I think the Vikings, the one move, because they already signed Gilmore. We needed a corner. Um, I'd say the one next move I'd make is going out and finding a big nose tackle. I'd go out and I'd get Tart, and I'd pair him up with Harrison Phillips. Right now, in my opinion, that interior defensive line as a unit, I think doesn't really look too good. And again, uh, defensive end, that kind of scares me a little bit because you got Tillery and you have Bullard at end, and I think we could be better at defensive end and better at the nose tackle. But our outside linebacker core and our linebacker core just looks mint. Vikings went out and had a stellar free agency and really beefed up that linebacker room. So I got nothing to complain about with that. Yeah, it would be a cheap option. Give them Mullins, swap picks, take the distraction out of Pittsburgh. I like his leadership too. And he can really air the ball out. He's, from what I've seen with him in Seattle, he's really accurate. He can throw on the run. He does well in the play action. He can really use his legs when needed. I think him playing for the Vikings at the end of his career, I don't think would be a bad idea. I mean, this is already a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Having him link with KLC. KLC won a Super Bowl with Sean McVay. He was the offensive coordinator. I think this would be a nice pairing, in my opinion. Pair up Russell Wilson with KLC, and you give Russ the weapons he's got right now in Minnesota. He'd have another big weapon room like he did in Seattle, and with it being a cheap option, I think it would do well for him. Denver, I didn't really feel like was a fit for him, and now that he's in Pittsburgh, I really don't know if that's really a good group around him, so to speak, like a good roster. I will give it that Tomlin's always got good defenses. Um, he's got a nice tight end over there. He's got some good receivers. But I feel like he'd have a better roster here than he does in Pittsburgh. Oh, honestly, I think after this year, depending on well he does this year, and if he can stay healthy, I see him coming back for another year or two with the Vikings. I could see that. Um, Again, big boost to our cornerback room. You bring in a guy like Gilmore with all his experience and all his accolades. He's played with Flores in New England, so he knows Flo. Having him back with Flo is going to be very big. And having him and uh having him and having Shaq Griffin there, I think is really going to help motivate the younger corners in that room. And he got guys like McLaughlin, who I think is really going to succeed from that veteran leadership at corner. So, yeah, what a boost. Yeah, what a boost that is to the corner room. Going on, Matthew?
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So right now we're talking about how Russell Wilson, the rumors circulating.
What's that?
How well do you think he would do in this offense if it was this year?
I haven't seen him do a whole lot. I guess I really watched a lot of Pittsburgh preseason games, but I don't know how much he's been playing there. But I mean, Darnold already knows the playbook. He's been here the whole
Right.
offseason. For Wilson to come in here and pick it up and be effective, I just don't buy it. Plus, unless I don't see him cutting him, I don't want to give up anything to trade for because we don't have any more than a first and a couple fifths. So if they cut him and you could bring him in for like 2 million, sure, because he's going to be better than
Right.
Hall and Mullins. But yeah, I'm not trading for him.
Someone said the cheap option would be giving them Mullins and swapping picks.
Yeah, that honestly, you're probably going to get Fields for that more than you're getting Wilson for that. But
True.
I'd honestly rather do Fields. I know it's funny to say that as a Viking fan that's shit on him the last 3 years, but I don't know. He's fun to watch run.
Hey, if something happens with Aaron Jones, we'll throw him in at running back.
Exactly. I mean, they've been using him as a running back receiver in practice. So
Another person said same guys. CM said, "You think Gilmore ends his career in Minnesota?"
he's 33, so probably.
Unless he tells Flo that he's got another year or two left in the tank.
Yeah. But he either plays well enough to where we feel like re-signing him for a final year, or he plays bad enough to where he's just like, I'm good.
Right. So
But I'm excited to have him.
it's gonna be really fun after this season because we're gonna have a lot of money, a lot of room to grow off what we got right now.
Yeah.
So I think the Vikings are gonna go quiet under the radar and gonna hurt a lot of feelings in this division.
Yeah. What position do you see us going after more in free agency, and which one do you see us going after more with our first overall? Or not first overall, maybe, but our first round.
In free agency, I see us really bulking up the D line.
Yeah.
So I see them bringing in beefy nose tackle to go with Harrison Phillips. I think Hillary and Bullard starting at end, I think that ends. I think you bring in 2 guys to play those end spots, and I think with the first round, I think they go guard.
Ooh,
Beef up that interior O line.
okay. So just kind of skip corner. That's supposed to be more than enough to sign a defensive tackle and a corner for sure.
I mean, unless they can, move up like they did last year, and they can get, two picks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think that can go either way. Either you go interior O line, first pick, or you go Travis Hunter.
Yeah. Which I've been seeing him go as high as the second overall, which is crazy. I don't think a corner goes that high. I mean, it's a pretty weak QB class, but there's other positions. So, and I think we'll be flirting with that top 5 to top 10 range, unfortunately. So, yeah, I think you're right about drafting O line, though. Usually, free agent O linemen are way overpaid, and there's just not a lot because there's such a rare commodity. So, you're not really going to be able to get one there. So, yeah, I see us definitely. I think we go corner in free agency. It seems like a lot of the really high end defensive tackles went this year. So, I haven't really studied who's going to be a free agent next year, but there's always corners available in free agency. So, I definitely think we're going to go out and splash and get a top 10, top 15 corner and overpay the hell out of them.
From what I'm hearing, Jerry Jones doesn't want to, give Blanda a contract extension, and he's supposed to be up for free agent next season. So
that dude is allergic to paying his good players.
Ron Bland will be more than happy to have you in Minnesota.
Get him and CD.
And then you got CD Lamb, who's still holding out. I'm kind of pissed off because I got him in fantasy.
Oh, man. I haven't done a draft yet, so maybe that's a blessing. I'm going to wait until the last minute.
LDR is right.
He really didn't play much tonight. I only had 1 tackle.
Yeah.
They must really think that he's
What's going on, Tyler?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
How's it going?
Going good, man. I watched a bit of the preseason game. Jaron Hall looked really good. I took some time to update my 53-man roster predictions. I've had this ongoing Google Sheet since the start of the offseason, and every so often I'll sort of tweak how I think the roster is going to end up, and now we're at my final edition of it. I don't know what you guys are talking about, or if you want to join in. You're talking.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
One second here. Let me share my screen. All right. So how well can y'all see this? Can you guys see anything?
No, nothing's popped up yet.
Well, it should be at the bottom here. It says like my name, and it's got like my desktop. Like it.
Okay.
There
we go.
All right, let me zoom in a little bit so people watching this can see. So I'll go over this real fast. So I got like the whole depth chart here. So obviously, you want to look at your offensive starters. Got Jefferson, Addison, Naylor. Those are your 3 receivers. Offensive line, pretty straightforward. Darisaw, Brandel, Bradbury, Ingram, O'Neal. Tight end for now is Josh Oliver, just because TJ Hawkinson's on the PUP list. He's going to come back eventually. And then you've got Darnold at quarterback, Jones and Ham at fullback. And we'll go to, I guess, some of these guys are second stringers. Some of them are starters. I guess it depends on the position. Like you'll see more on the defensive end where that kind of happens. But got Tristan Jackson. I think he made the team just based off these last 3 preseason games, scoring a touchdown in each one. Got Sherfield in there for the run blocking, and you got Powell in there for the gadget special teams guy. So those are we keep 6 wide receivers, and we'll keep 8 offensive linemen is what I'm thinking. So it's the starters plus Rouse, Jurgen, or actually 9. Rouse, Jurgens, Feeney, and Questenberry. So you keep 9 offensive linemen. And then for tight end, you've got Munt and Muse. Quarterback, Mullins, Hall. I don't think Corral's making that roster. And then, of course, we've got Ty Chandler, Kenan Nwangwu, and that rounds out the offense. And then defensively here, we've got Tillery, Phillips, Bullard. So obviously those 3 are going to be like your starting defensive linemen, but it does get kind of interesting because I think Taki Taimani's making this 53-man roster.
I really hope so.
I hope so because I think he's a
too.
stereotypical, solid nose tackle. And on a team that lacks defensive line depth, you're just looking for the best guys you can gather. It's not necessarily, Phillips has to be the nose tackle at all times, and we're going to get defensive ends around him. At this point, you're just saying, hey, look, Taki's balled out. He's really talented. Let's give him some snaps at nose and trust that Harrison Phillips can be flexible enough at certain times to play on defensive end in a 3-4, and then we'll do a rotation of Tillery, Bullard, Jonah Williams, whoever it is on that opposite side, depending on what down it is. So that's what I have going on here. Aside from the 3 starters, Tillery, Phillips, and Bullard, got Jonah Williams from the Rams, and Levi Drake Rodriguez. You cannot leave him on the practice squad. No way. Yeah. Mini John Randall at that point. If you got to cut to Quellen Roy,
I wouldn't even risk keeping him on the practice squad with all the teams that are hungry.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either, which makes it tough because like Redmond has played all right, and there's some guys there that could make the case for the 53-man roster at defensive line, but not all of them are going to get in. Outside linebacker. What's up?
I'll say you had just mentioned Jaquelin Roy. He was someone that I was really pulling for, and I don't think he makes the team this year.
Yeah, he's one of my more notable roster cuts. I don't think he makes the practice squad either. I just think they're going to cut him loose, But outside linebacker here is pretty straightforward. So you got Bernard, Van Ginkel, Turner. Like those are your top 3 guys. Maybe you swap around Van Ginkel and Turner depending on how well he performs early in his rookie year. And then beyond that, it's the 2 veterans. It's Patrick Jones, second, who I'm not a fan of personally, but it seems like the coaches are. They think they can play some defensive line snaps, I guess. And the same thing goes for Jihad Ward, where you have a guy who can rotate on the defensive line as well. And that's going to be valuable when the depth at that position isn't the greatest. You don't really have any star talent at defensive line. So you're just going to need some pass rushers to play some snaps there to, generate something, Inside linebacker, pace. You've got Cashman. Kruger Hill is the 3rd guy. This one's interesting. Dallas Gant. So I don't have Brian Asamoah making the team because I think they're going to try and trade him. There's a whole category called trade bait, and he is one of the 3 players on that. If the Vikings can get a day 3 pick for him, I think they'll ship him out. I don't think Flores likes him that much. I don't think he's very good against the run. Great coverage guy, but it's just not the kind of linebacker Flores is looking for. So, I believe they signed Gant to like a 3-year deal as a UDFA. So, and you also have Jabril Cox, but I think he's more of a special teams inside linebacker that, you stash on the practice squad. I think they like Gant as that 4th guy. And by the way, too, if Gant is seeing any playing time, it means something's gone horribly wrong and guys are injured. So you're you're talking about like a Ben Gideon or lower situation here when it comes to like
Right.
inside linebacker depth. But yeah, those are your guys at linebacker, cornerback. I think the Vikings keep 5. So that's Gilmore, Murphy, Griffin, McGlothern, and then Fabian Moreau. Notable omission is Caleb Evans. He is number 2 on trade bait category, which is weird because like they had I think Flores said a couple weeks back, like we're going to rely on Caleb Evans a lot this year. So there definitely is a reality where they just decide to keep him and, might as well be like a decent 4th corner, but they really like McGlothern, and I guess Fabian Moreau starting with the ones was like a legitimate thing that happened in training camp. I don't know how secure his roster spot is, Moreau, but it's interesting. If someone likes Evans enough, do you trade him?
I mean, yeah. Like you said, if you can even get a 6th or 7th rounder for him, we're so bare cupboards next year in the draft with only having the maybe 3rd compensatory pick and then a couple 5ths outside the 1st round. So, I mean, you have good depth. Well, we'll see how good the depth is, but we have high hopes with McGlothern that maybe we can get away with trading him and not skipping a beat. It's not like he's really been super impactful for us or on the field every game. So,
yeah, I'm like,
yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and the thing is I hate to bring this up, but like Kyrie Jackson, I just wonder where would we be at this time of the year if you were still around? Like, would we be talking about like Kyrie Jackson has looked really good in training camp in the preseason? Like Caleb Evans might be on the roster bubble. I wonder if it was sort of their intent to phase out a Caleb Evans. And that's why you drafted a corner and 3rd round, and even after his death, the Vikings are out here signing Stephon Gilmore, and Dwight McGlothern looks really good as an undrafted free agent. They sign a whole bunch of guys, Moreau, Shelley. They trade for Booth for Nashawn Wright. So it's like it just feels like the Vikings are doing everything they can to say, okay, we don't want a Caleb Evans out there. Maybe he's just not a Flores guy. I don't know, but
yeah, definitely feel like if Kyrie Jackson was still here, I feel like Evans would be on the bubble. I definitely feel that, especially with Dwight McGlothern and Fabian Moreau. I just think that he would fizzle out.
Yeah, and with safety, I think it's also straightforward. Some people have us keeping 6 safeties, and I get it. Flores is a maniac, and I wouldn't put it past him. But like, I think we keep 5. You obviously have your top 4 guys. It's pretty solid with Smith, Bynum, Metellus, and Theo Jackson. And then I have us keeping Bobby McCain. I think he is, he's got experience in this defense, this Flores defense, and we brought him in. He's played well. I think he's outplayed Jay Ward. I think he's outplayed Lewis Seen when he's on the field. And I don't have either of those guys making the roster or the practice squad. Seen is the 3rd player on my trade bait category. So if they don't trade Seen, I think they cut him. If they can't find a buyer for Lewis Seen, he's gone. Like they're not gonna keep him as a 6th safety on the roster who's not a scheme fit.
Right.
And then straightforward is just your specialists at this point. But what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, we had actually joked earlier in the show that we kind of gave it to Jared Hall and Lewis Seen last week on the Valhalla Hour. And they both go out and have super impressive games. And so it was kind of an apology tour. And then he goes out today. I mean, Jared Hall has another really solid game, but Lewis Seen another clunker. He commits a couple penalties, just not really impactful. So it's like, God, you really wanted to see him be able to string it 2 games in a row, and he just couldn't. McCain had that monster of a hit last week. You love seeing that. I think he has a better nose for the ball. I think you're absolutely right. I think he takes Lewis Seed's spot.
Darren, what you think?
I was very impressed with Jaron Hall these last 2 preseason games. I think that he's really shown that he can step in and fight for the QB2, so to speak. But I don't think Lucine makes the roster. He had a nice showing last game, but I think this is farewell. Either he gets cut or he gets traded. But I'm with you on with the defense, like keeping that many bodies. I think you're gonna need it.
Yeah, and then I got a whole practice squad here too because I'm a maniac and I want to understand. Okay, if you're not making the roster, you got some of these guys are gonna fall to the practice squad,
Right.
And like this is bound to be like completely wrong because it's you're talking practice squad. We have no idea who makes it. We have some indication, but it's total guessing game. They can keep any amount of wide receivers or certain players you didn't expect. But I'll just go into it. They're not ranked or anything. It's just that's how I wanted to label them based on like alphabetical order and positions. But we got Henry Bird, I guess, is your third string center. Duke Shelley is sort of like what Jawan Williams was last year, where you have like a veteran corner who's probably not all that great, but he's played some games before. And if you absolutely need him to, you can elevate him to the 53 if there's some sort of injuries and activate him for a game. AJ Green, I think they really like. I think he was the first guy they signed this offseason. So, I expect him to be on the practice squad. Defensive line, you got James Lynch. I think he's played well. I just don't think he warrants a roster spot. You have to keep Drake Rodriguez on that 53. And I think Jonah Williams has done more than James Lynch. And you're talking about Lynch, I believe he was working back through an injury. So maybe you can sneak him on there. And then Redmond, UFL guy, you sign him. I've liked him this preseason. I liked him today. I think he had that forced fumble. I think he's worth keeping around on a practice squad. Jabril Cox is a special teams guy. He's been around the league. I think they gave him a contract about $1 million worth. He'll, if it's not Gant who makes the team, he'll make the team, but I think it's going to be Gant. Tyrese Robinson is, I think, our third string left guard or second string, third string right now. The weird thing is that Reisner hasn't practiced in weeks. He's hurt, and the scuttlebutt is because I'm in close cahoots with Dustin Baker. We do Vikes Now, and he knows people who have sources. So he's aware of some people who have sources. So there's a small clique of people who kind of get the same info and they cross-reference it. But the scuttlebutt is Dalton Reiser does not make the roster. Like, that's what people are theorizing, that he's just been hurt, can't make the club in the tub. Sucks because I like Reisner as a backup. I think he's perfect for that. I know he's hurt, but I think he's way better than Feeney and that Juergens guy. Like, it would suck to see Reisner go, but it just feels like that's the way it's trending. This Tyrese Robinson guy has looked good in pass pro during the preseason at left guard. So I guess he is your Reisner replacement, so to speak. But I'm not thrilled about it. And then they just signed Chuck Falaga, another guard. He was on the Packers for a bit. Doug Nestor can really... Oh, what's up?
Oh, it said Skyuma?
Yeah, Skyuma. Go for
Yeah, you.
There you go. Well, we got another gopher on here too, Mo Ibrahim. They also signed him, and I also have him making the practice squad over Dwayne McBride,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah, I feel like McBride's done.
it hurts me too, because if I were GM and me just having the man crush on McBride because they wrote an article about him when we first drafted him, they called him like the berserker or something.
Yep.
Alec Lewis did, and I was like, "Fuck, man, this guy's gonna be really good." And
Honestly,
I had high hopes for him when we drafted him.
it's like he had what, like 1,700 yards, 17 touchdowns his last year in college. He had some fumble issues,
Yeah.
but those averaged like 7.8 yards a carry, just monster numbers.
It's a small school college thing, and I think, in the 7th round, the Vikings were hoping he could kind of get past the small school thing and prove that he's a legitimate yak threat, or just like someone who can
A
break
threat.
tackles.
Yeah.
But he's really been pedestrian. I guess his ceiling in the league is probably like a 4th string running back on the back end of a roster. Like, it's not looking great for him. He did okay this preseason game. It's just he didn't do enough was the thing. Like, Myles Gaskin looked better than him.
Yeah.
If you gave Muhammad Ibrahim Cody.
Here we go.
How about the rest of TJ Hawkinson?
Should we move on?
Should we move on from Hawk? Like, he's saying this in jest, right? Like,
I brought that up a few weeks ago.
From him? Is he making fun of my logic here? Like, he's hurt, we should just move on from a guy? Talking about
What's going on, John Sullivan?
What's going on, guys?
What's up?
Well, the difference is one of them is a top 5 player at their position.
Yeah, well,
Right.
One's a backup offensive lineman, and the other is TJ Hawkinson. So, like, we're not worried about TJ Hawkinson missing the rest of his career or being cut. Reisner does not have the same job security. I'll skim over this real quick, and then I'll let y'all. Do we want a guard in the top 10 pick? No. Unless you are getting like a Quentin Nelson
Right.
caliber player in the top 10, you don't pick guard in the 1st round. I see fans complain about it over the years where it's like, how come we didn't draft interior offensive line in the 1st round? I'll tell you why. It's the same reason you don't typically draft a running back in the 1st round or a safety in the 1st round. Unless they're really good. It's because the value proposition isn't there. It's not the most valued position. You try and get that on the 2nd round, the 3rd round. That's the sweet spot for guard, We do need it though. We haven't seen anything regarding Blake Brandel. I mean, maybe no news is good news, but like, I don't feel great about Ed Ingram. I know Tyler Forness loves Ed Ingram. He'll always try and defend his tape, but I especially don't feel great about Bradbury. He has a surprising amount of job security for a guy who has been consistently below average against really powerful, like Grady Jarrett, Kenny Clark kind of guys. And I mean, whether you're playing the Lions, Packers, or Bears, who have an improved defense, it's going to be a handful for Bradbury to go against these tough defenses as an undersized center. He's not Kelsey. Not every undersized center is Jason Kelsey,
Right. Yeah, he has job security just based off affordability. If you only take $5 million a year as a starting offensive lineman, you're probably going to get some playing time. But yeah, he's smaller than Rudolph. You can't have that first.
Daniel Jones of centers, just good enough to be your starter, and maybe the value proposition's there because he's kind of cheap and serviceable. But like, if Daniel Jones is your starter, you should look to improve. You shouldn't just stay on Daniel Jones for 5 years.
Right.
Like we have with Garrett. I think he's on the last year of his deal too.
Cody
doubling down the Hawkinson.
Yep, he said I'd ship him out. I don't want to spend the money.
Well, we're already spending the money, Cody. He's already getting paid like a top 5 tight end. I guess say say we could get a Cody. Let me ask you this: what would you expect in return if the Vikings were to trade Hawkinson as far as draft compensation? Like, if you were GM, how much would someone have to give you before you would say, "Okay, I'm willing to trade TJ"? I want to see here in a minute, but yeah, let me go over this real fast. Nestor at tackle, third string guy. Bo Richter. There's been some murmurs about him potentially making the 53. I don't think there's room. He's played great though. Keep him on the practice squad by all costs. Owen Porter, this was really supposed to be Gabriel Murphy. The truth is, I have no idea what the hell's going on with him. He's been out with an undisclosed injury, but like he's not on a PUP list or IR or anything. But like if he's injured, why would you use a practice squad spot on him? So maybe we find out what's going on with him, or maybe he's fine and just dinged up. If he's fine and just dinged up, you put him over Porter. But if he's hurt, then don't waste a practice squad spot on him. And then you got Gaskin, Ibrahim Tanyan. I think is just dinged up. They didn't want to play him this preseason, but I think he's worth the practice squad spot. Deshaun Jones and Lucky Jackson, and that rounds out your practice squad. We got and then Reyes on the international player program. He doesn't count against the roster, so he gets to chill. He's got to be the most relaxed person on cut down day. Then of course IR, Blackman, Thompson, McCarthy, Flax. I think we waived the tight end Knox, who was on IR, and then we don't know what's going on with Murphy. Hawkinson. So RTA is just it's an abbreviation for return to action. You can only designate 2 guys at the start of the year as guys who are on the PUP or IR as being tabled to return to action. And then there's only 8 guys who can return to action for a team that does not make the playoffs. And then it goes up to 10 if you're like in the postseason. And then just some cuts. Carter, Williams, Wright, Roy, some side linebacker I've never heard of in my life. Manoa, Corral, who I swear I'm a huge Jaron Hall truther, and there are some guys saying that like Corral ought to make it on the roster over Hall, and I hated it before this game, and I'm laughing at it now.
That's just not a.
That's not an NFL player. Go to the UFL. Go to Canada. I don't care. But get off my practice squad. Jay Ward, McBride, Rolland, Reisner, if he's hurt. And then just Thayer Thomas hasn't been bad. It's just I don't think he's has as much potential as a Deshaun Jones or a Lucky Jackson. So you got to waive him and Knowles and Hall as a Justin Hall, not Karen. And then the trade bait, Evans, Asamoah Scene. If you can get anything for them, great. If not, you cut them. And then rest in peace, Kyrie.
So you think that Jaron Hall should be a third stringer or he should be on the practice squad?
I think they keep 3 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster, and he is your third string quarterback for at least this season.
Okay.
I think ideally they want him to eventually develop into a nice backup quarterback. I think he's a year away from that. I like his progress that he's made, but I still think Mullins is your backup. If Darnold misses time, you're throwing in Mullins before you're doing it with Hall.
Correct.
But, I think he's worth keeping on the 53-man. And then Alec Lewis tweeted out that, like, other teams are, like, looking at Jaron Hall like, hey, Minnesota, do you want to trade this guy? We like him. I don't think they want to do that. I know they want draft capital next year. I don't think they'd be willing to trade Jaron Hall for a 5th-round pick. But I don't know. Kwesi surprised me with Vidarian Lowe, so anything goes.
That is true. Not like I said last year, I don't think that Jaron Hall got a fair shake. Like he basically got hurt in the Atlanta game, and then after that, he didn't start till the game against Green Bay at home, and Green Bay's defense was basically hungry and lights out. So we basically fed him to the hungry wolves. Is what we did.
Yeah, and then everyone said everyone sort of acted like he was Josh Freeman 2.0, and that I was there for that Green Bay game, and it was really bad. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't say he was set up to fail, but he just, he drew the short end of the stick, and the only reason they really started him is because Mullins was playing like crap. Dobbs was a third stringer at this point because he didn't know the offense. He was just running purely off of vibes and just how many yards can I run for. They didn't have any other choice. It was the last week of the season, and they didn't want to get eliminated. So it was more like a politics move by Kevin O'Connell to say, okay, I might as well see what this guy can do. And if he doesn't do well, I can at least say I tried. But, like, Jaron Hall was not ready to be in that situation. He had a nice drive against, maybe he was still kind of hurt, or maybe he was just rusty. I don't know. But I still have faith in him.
I think it was just rusty, and then we basically put him in a situation where Green Bay's defense was just playing. They were hungry. And, when he played against Atlanta, he looked good. He actually looked really good until he got hurt, unfortunately.
It's also just a small sample size. We're talking one drive against Atlanta where he looked perfect, and it could have been a scripted drive where he was just more confident because he knew what he was supposed to do.
Right.
But I'm not saying he'll be bad or good. I'm just saying we got to give him more time. He's a developmental fifth-round quarterback. We shouldn't be throwing him to the wolves after a bad game in his rookie career.
He's shown more than Kellen Mond ever did.
Cowboys can't afford Parsons. CM says it's his dream pickup.
I think Kwesi should get on the phone right now and call the Cowboys and say, I want your star linebacker, and I'll give you a conditional 7th-round pick.
and I'll give you Lewis Dean.
Yeah, Lewis Dean for your troubles. Why not?
Look, Jones isn't going to pay him. Just get what you can.
Bill,
we'll give you Andre Carter.
Like, they'll pay CD, they'll pay Parsons. They're not stupid. They're just money hungry. They just want to get as many contracts done in reasonable prices as they can. But they're not gonna ship off Parsons or CD Lamb, because they're cheap. It's just negotiations, At the same
Well, you gotta pay Dak.
Yeah, they gotta.
Dak's on the bubble, Lamb's on the bubble, Parsons, and then Bland. Four guys.
Who's the last guy?
Bland. Deron Bland.
So there you go. There's the guy. If there's 4 and they have to keep 3, there's the guy who's cut. Or not cut, but like. I remember there was that one year for the Vikings where it was like we were trying to extend 5 guys in one offseason, and it was like Daniil Hunter, Stephon Diggs, Barr, I think, Hendricks. And then the one guy who we let go in free agency was Trey Waynes. So I guess and we extended the other 4. So my point is if the Cowboys have Dak, CD, and Parsons, those guys are getting extended. It's Deron Bland or whoever else needs an extension. They might have to. You have Trevon Diggs. So if he's a lockdown corner and you're going to pay him like a lockdown corner, then, you can try and get a serviceable corner next to him and hope for the best. If it has to come to that, obviously they want to keep everyone, but, you got to pick and choose who your favorites are, and those 3 guys aren't going anywhere.
Right.
Were you guys surprised about the Gilmore pickup or no?
No.
No. I mean,
surprised he chose us, I guess. Not surprised we signed him.
That's another question. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think we have to.
He was the best available free agent corner on the market. If he's washed, then everyone else on the market might as well be washed. Like there's nothing else you can do. It's unprecedented to have a 3rd-round pick pass away like that. So it's the Vikings are doing their best to field a competitive defense, and they signed the best player at a given position, and they gave him Patrick Peterson 2022 money. So,
Right.
you know, you're paying him $8 to $10 million for one season. You know, there's been times where like I've gotten upset with the Vikings because it feels like they try to be too competitive when they should really tank. But like the season hasn't started yet. Like if this were week 6 and we were like 2-4 and we signed Gilmore, I'd be like, okay, what the hell, guys? I want to get.
He's
like,
gonna turn things around.
Trade him.
Like that's one thing, but
Yeah.
like it's you gotta like give your fans hope for at least 4 weeks before we find out that Darnold's not really good and our offense sucks. I actually think Darnold will be surprisingly decent. We'll just probably kill Aaron Jones' knees by giving him the ball 25 times a game. If Darnold can't
Give him
throw
a
the ball,
Vikings
we're going
funeral.
to abuse him. You know, Aaron Jones.
Like we did to Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay left tread on the tires. Why should we leave anything left over? If Green Bay can have Aaron Jones back when he is an old lethargic man, we will give him 30 carries when we play Green Bay. You know,
I got about. Congrats on undefeated preseason, Skol.
Oh,
Our money in the bank next year, along with the top 5, top 10 pick, is crazy.
oh yeah. If we can get like Paulson and Debo from the Saints, like a good shutdown corner, then I feel really good about this long term. We just need a shutdown corner, and we need a good 3-4 defensive lineman in the first round. You get those two things, you have a top 10 defense, and you have JJ McCarthy coming back, and hopefully a healthy offense, and a Jordan Addison who knows how to take a nuke. So, yeah, I'll probably bounce here.
Do you think we take a corner in free agency, or do you think we take them in the draft?
Unless they really like that kid from Colorado, that Travis kid, then yeah, then I think they'll just spend big money on a free agent corner who is recognized as a shutdown corner rather than hoping for, you know, the next Sauce Gardner and then you get Mike Hughes instead. You know, there's so much variance when you're drafting a cornerback in the first round. Unless they're a once in every 5-year kind of player, you're usually just getting a guy with really good athleticism who may or may not know how to play within your defense at a serviceable level. It is really hard to draft corners. It is very hard to develop corners because they're just pretty much out there expected to cover the best wide receivers in the game, and they have to react to crap. They can't just be aggressive like a pass rusher or a player on offense. They gotta, it's all about how good are they at predicting someone else's movements, and that's just a tough position to be in as a rookie, and your team's telling you, okay, we want you to be a shutdown corner right away. Good luck with that.
And plus, you got to play the run too.
Oh yeah, and you got to play the run. You can't just be Trevon Diggs and be great in coverage and then not know how to tackle.
Yeah,
I guess that's not the best example, but
not know how to tackle Aaron Jones like Trevon Diggs.
Like that's one thing I loved about Xavier Rhodes. He could cover and he could tackle. He can hit.
Oh yeah.
He was starting to get injured and his body just.
I love how Xavier Rhodes almost like abused the injuries at a certain point when he realized everyone thinks I'm so injury prone. So whenever I get beat down the field, I'm going to pretend for 5 seconds like I'm hurt. And then the very next play, I'll be back out there. I just got to do like the good old fashioned limp on the field, off the field when I'm fine.
That was like Devin Cook. When he fumbled the ball, he'd act like he was injured.
Yeah, I guess it's like, some guys have to come up with an excuse as to why they whiffed on a play. And it's like, dude, it's okay. Some plays are going to suck. You know, it happens to the best of us. You don't got to pretend like you're hurt. Don't scare the fans.
Even the legends have gotten beaten. Deion Sanders has been beaten. Champ Bailey was beaten. Charles Woodson has been beaten. Even the greatest have been beaten.
Right.
Absolutely. It's about how you fight from that, how you fight through adversity. And speaking of the whole injury thing, I hate the Jefferson gritty where he like pretends to pull his hamstring.
Yeah.
I hope he never does
Yeah.
that shit again.
I legitly thought he pulled his hammy while doing the gritty. I was like, oh my God, please no.
And knowing the Vikings' luck, the more he tries to pretend that he's pulled a hamstring, the more likely it is that God will say, you know what, you fuck around and you find out and just punish him. Wait, did Jefferson miss part of last year because of a hamstring injury specifically? What? He was dealing with a hamstring, right?
Yeah, I feel like
Supposedly it was
that's
a hamstring, yes.
Yeah, so it was God's wrath. That's what happens when you add the hamstring celebration to your gritty. Is God decides to give you an actual hamstring injury. So I would love for there to be a conga line of just an entire, 11 guys in a line doing a gritty all at once in the end. That would be sick.
That'd be great.
But I'm probably gonna head out here, y'all. It's good talking to you.
Good having you, Tyler.
I'll talk later.
All right, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry getting on so late. I just came from the fair, actually.
Does the looming Addison suspension worry us this year or next? One of the guys said.
Probably next year would be my guess.
Yeah.
But now you think about it, it would be better to have it done this year instead of having him being suspended and missing games when J.J. McCarthy returns, depending how the situation looks with him. Hopefully he'll be the starter next year. Hopefully. But, yeah. I just hope that he stops doing stupid shit and getting into trouble over dumb things. At the end of the day, you have to try drawing the line where you draw the line with behavior off the field. He's putting himself in situations, putting the team in a bad situation.
What does McCarthy do to get better this injured offseason? Do we really believe McCown is the whisperer in his ear that he needs? Is what CM said.
It sucks that he got hurt. Because, you want him to watch and learn and develop, even though I don't know if Sam Darnold's going to be the promising guy to really help him develop. Like I said, I would have preferred Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is a brand quarterback. He's got a name, Super Bowl, multiple playoff wins, multiple playoff appearances. So that'd be the guy to really, to really take a lesson from. But we have J.J. McCarthy sit behind him, but we didn't do that, so. Now he doesn't have a choice. He's not going to be out there playing, so he'll have to take notes.
Right. Well, all right, guys. We reached our end of our show. We'll be back next Saturday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is Skol Gang 365. Hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday tomorrow and have a great rest of your night.
Skol out.
Skol.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and Maniacs. The nightly podcasts are Palace Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skol Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main Event Football Show, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports. Spitballing Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, Puckett, 313 Den Podcast, The Guys Huddle, Shots from the Sideline, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Truth Sports Podcast, Off the Rails. NFC Northeast, Power Hours, and Detroit Lions News. Make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe, and comment.